use the chat box for your comments and questions. This session is going to be recorded and will be uploaded to the exhibitor's virtual booth. Now I turn you over to Amit Mishra for his presentation. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, ADV Marketplace, for having us here and inviting us for this interactive discussion. So I will start my presentation, and meanwhile, uh, all of you can note that your questions, and we can have it at last. Let me start my share. Just acknowledge if my screen is visible to you.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So we are a startup. We started in 2014 by a bunch of MIT and IIT guys who thought that there are a lot of fragmented systems in water resources, which makes it difficult to manage water resources as a holistic in a holistic manner. And the primary problem with water resources are that the last mile visibility is very difficult to get. It's always not clear. There are variety of resources. Then there are various authorities who claim those resources. There are various ways to manage that, and then there is various geographical boundaries comes into picture, whether it's a state boundaries, country boundaries, or any kind of boundaries which often conflict with each other. So the stakeholders in water resources are often conflicting many times. You can see like industrial and irrigation water use conflicts, domestic and industrial water use conflicts. So there are various of these conflicts keep arriving, and thus it's key to make sure that the water resources are visible, they are managed in a transparent manner, and all the stakeholders are unified so that the water resources management are conflict free, easy, and adding value to the real world. So for Varsar Lab, our research partners are MIT, IITs in India, Hyderabad, sorry, and Google, ICRISAT, and National Institute of Hydrology, India. So with partnership with this, we identified the key concern. What are the key concern for uh, actually to develop a water resource information management system? And we find that primary problems are there are a lot of fragmented systems. There are a lot of water management authorities. Their roles are different. Their operating conditions are different, and they have their own systems, which basically helping them in their day-to-day operations. So the ideal way is to have those things unified under one hood so that all the fragmented system data should come to one place, which basically simplifies the water management and provides a real-time visibility. And at whole, the system should act as a facilitator for the water security so that states or any geography can achieve sustainable water resource management. So to have this thing, to solve this problem, what Wasser Lab and what we have did is that we have developed a platform called Equawise. So we understood that the story starts with data. So there are various of data which needs to be bring together. So I will start my highlighter so that you can follow me through. So we started with a data layer and we understood what kind of data are coming through in day-to-day operations. So primary, there are satellite data, then drone data, then various of sensors. Basically, if in case of reservoirs, that can be flow sensors, then there can be canal sensors, there are water level sensors. In case of domestic supply, there are water meters, and for the rivers, there are gate sensors, various kind of sensors are there. Then the API integrations for various systems which are managing water resources currently. And then power of crowdsourcing by giving a geo-intelligent mobile application into the hands of user. And then variety of experimental data, like the research institutions who are continuously improving data sets for runoff, for conservation structures, and various of methodology like crop and any other things which keep coming in. So this data layers unifies all this data, brings together with respect to their varieties. There can be a geospatial data, business data, and there can be a time series data. All of data comes together with they sit there in the respective databases, but gets unified so that we can deploy latest technology stack on that. And what are those? So we are deploying artificial intelligence to process a lot of data. For example, the satellite data. We can identify the water spread area through satellite, the crop through satellite, many use cases which will be coming in the next couple of minutes. Then we can deploy big data, ML algorithm, and all this gets a power of cloud so that it's always on. When we deploy this technology layer, then what we get is really the two things. One is that you have geospatial insight. You can see all the data in a GIS format. You can have all the GIS operations on those data sets. And then you have a smart dashboards, which are basically tailored towards day-to-day operations or giving key insights to the business owner. Or you can say, in case of water resources, different authorities or the user associations. And at last, it helps you to take a decision. And there can be n number of decisions. Just take an example for reservoir guys. The decision is very simple: whether you have to open a reservoir gate or not. It means you have to release how much water. But to achieve that one line binary conclusion, you have to go through all these steps. And that's the beauty. So let's go ahead and understand few data sources like Ajay we just. So we are ingesting data from sensors, and all these images which you see right now on the slides are taken from our real world implementations. So the system platform ingests data from sensors, then from remote sensing. What you are seeing right now here is just the NDVI and NDWI indexes, basically the soil moisture conditions. Then the crowdsourced mobile app, which basically allows you to fill any data gaps. So if we believe that there is, or if we have any concern of data collection through sensors, it can be immediately be filled with a geo-intelligent mobile app, which is basically smart enough to capture location information with that. And then data from SCADA. So there are various SCADA systems which are operating in various rules. Say for example, for reservoirs, for canal, for lift schemes, for pump operations, for hydropower. So all of these can be united into this database and can form basically a system which can be managed through a control and command center far away from the location, which makes it easy to understand because there are various components or various attributes affecting the operations. Then data from drones, it can help you to do either survey or the audit, or basically to do any kind of cross-reference checking kind of thing. Then data from satellite like vegetation index we see. So the various of vegetation index which we are leveraging for various use cases. Say for example, we are doing crop zone analysis through satellite imagery. So we know which crop is showing. The right now what you see is the map of Andhra Pradesh from Government of India, one of the state in India. So where there is a lot of diversification in the crop. So satellite, we are ensuring like whether the crop zone is as per the plan or what is the deviation, what is the water demands for them. So basically it's estimate the crop stress. So right now the image which you see right now, it's from the real-time system. So as of now, there is no water stress because it just passed it's the sowing season right now. And then this same information goes till cadastral level. So right now, the small boundaries, what you are seeing, this is like an individual farm. You click on the steel and then you get the farmer details and what kind of crop he had sown and what is the historical performance. You can understand the stress. And then the crop health monitoring, understanding how crop is doing by combining your NDVI assets, by combining your weather parameters, by combining your crop phenology. All these things together gives you understanding of how your crop is doing right now. And this is a water spread area, very interesting. So if you see the water spread area watching from satellite has evolutionary thing, you can understand the behavior of how your water bodies are doing over the time. So right now on the current screen, you see this is one of the implementation we have did for government of Telangana in India. This is one of the state in India. So the ideally what it does, it basically you have tagged your water bodies through satellite. It's weekly, it's checking the performance. And then by checking that performance, it's telling you how it reacts over time. So right now you'll see we are zooming into one tank. So one water body. In that one water body, you will be able to see how these things are actually working. So that's a very interesting animation. So right now you can see it's a timeline. So this bar is a timeline bar, which you can see. So this will keep moving in that incremental direction. And this is the tank. This is the overall area. So right now that you can see the highlighted area is the complete area of the tank. And this is the current water level. But as time passes, so over the time how this tank has performed, that you can see right now on the screen. And the next level of this is like we have given a facility that you can simply draw your area. Say, for example, here is your water tank. You can simply draw a polygon on the map inside the system, and it will start giving you the same insight what you are seeing right now. So many times the people doesn't have the GIS file for the water bodies. So in that case, it's very useful. You can simply open the map inside our system, mark the polygon, and you will see the insight. So that's how the water spread area is performing. It tells you how water body is performing. It tells you if there is any interventions required, like yield is not proper and there is some encroachment kind of thing. All those things you can identify through here. And the moment you identify the encroachment, so this is one of the interesting thing, because at many places we see, and basically in developing countries, that the water bodies are often encroached. So in this map also you can see this area, whole of this area has been encroached. This is inside water bodies area. So with the remote sensing, we can monitor the encroachments, and then we can kick start the whole workflow of how this encroachment can be taken off. So this whole process can be automated and can be tracked effortlessly. The other important aspect is reservoir management, because the reservoirs are a complex thing, but they have the water coming in, they have the inflow from upstreams, they have their self catchment area, and then they have some demands to fulfill, like irrigation industry, hydropower, and all these demands are very much depending upon the climatic conditions. Say, for example, if there is a demand for irrigation but there is already rainfall in the command area, then there is no use of releasing that water. At the same time, if there is an inflow coming in and there is a situation of flood, then you have to release the water. So all these things taken into consideration, it gives you a way that how you can operate your reservoir sustainably. As we discussed, the reservoir leads to canal. The irrigation is one of the irrigation is the major stakeholders in water. It consumes around 80 to 90% of water, depending upon which geography you are. So it's very important to understand how much water is required for which area, so that you ensure that water use is optimum. So for this, we have two things. One is, you can see on this side is a canal network where we have all the canal mapping done. And the other side is the command area. So you see this is command area. And this various color stamps shows you like what is the current stress of that area based on the date of sowing. And now you have this tributaries going on across the farms. So based on that, you can make your, so basically the AI model understands the crop zone, and then you understand the water required for 2 weeks. And based on that, you can basically plan the whole canal operations. You can define the irrigation schedule which need to be followed to mitigate the required amount of stress. It's very much required when you have less water resources. If we have enough water resources, that might not be required. But if there is less, then it's key to use that very efficiently so that you don't destroy your crop phenology. So when the crop is in critical stages, you ensure that irrigation has been provided. A same replication of canal management you can see in this screen, where we are showing in the real time how this system works. So basically you go to the main reservoirs, then you go to the command area, then you click on any tributary, you see how that performing, what is the crop shown in that particular area, and what is the irrigation demand for that particular area to be met. So all these things happens in a very interactive manner. Respective people can see, the water user association can see how much water is made available to them, what is their demand. All those things are made in a holistic manner by leveraging remote sensing, sensors, and mobile application to capture the real world informations. The other most critical impact of water resource management is conservation, and that's very much depends upon what kind of runoff is available to conserve water. So at many places, we have seen that there has been a lot of water conservation activities in the last decades, but there is no potential impact on the ground. That's simple because the conservation structures has been taken up without having the understanding of hydrology of that area, or maybe it has been taken into the consideration, but the other factors has not been taken consideration, like how much rainfall can yield, how much of produce, the historical data, and also understand the complete DEM profile of that area. So if you're seeing right now in this screen, so what we are doing here, that we are trying to identify the right location with the help of artificial intelligence, which basically ingest data of all the hydrological profiles, your land use, land cover profiles, your weather patterns, historical rainfall, and then it gives you an interactive way to understand how much water one point can store. So it predicted some structure in this line, say for example, this. And when you go to the drain profiling, you draw a line on the map in the drain line, and then you can see how much water it can actually cover up. So this is what you can see right now here, and this basically tells you how much height will give you how much water, complete drain profile of it. And then it also gives you reliability understanding of with the historical rainfall pattern. It's incremental order, last 30 years rainfall from min to max. It's sorted in this map, in this chart actually. And then you can see the catchment of each stream. Like if you click on this stream, it's showing you this is your catchment area. So you can understand what is happening in the catchment area. If catchment area is occupied or catchment area is unhealthy, that can further guide you for the more instructions. So this is a real-time representation of the same, where we are going into the map, we are drawing the line, and we are seeing how the water conservation activity can be taken up here. What will be the output of this activity? So this is the one part of the solution. The other part of the solution is it makes you it gives you the complete map to basically do and survey the real location, and it gives you a pinpoint conservation structures with type of conservation structures with the estimated budget in case of if it's in India. But yeah, it can be done for anywhere else depending upon how the construction charges and what other kinds of parameter works in that particular geography. And based on that, you can complete this project. It basically have the workflow attached also for the e-approvals and the monitoring things, and that's how the water conservation take place. But some places it's not possible even to conserve the water, and the reason is that you don't have the water. You don't have water, then how will you conserve? In that case, the interbasin transfer comes handy. You know that yes, there is some neighboring basin who had surplus water. Why not to withdraw some water from that basin and use it for our purpose? And that's exactly what we are doing here. So if you see, this is my reservoir. Just for the name's sake, it's called Pattisima. This is the name, Pattisima. So this reservoir is Pattisima Reservoir, which has a very small capacity, just 2 TMC of water. This is my one river basin, surplus river basin, and this is the other river basin, which is like it has less water. And this is the self catchment. The green image you can see right now is the self catchment of this particular reservoir, and it's green because we have a lot of sensors in this area, and the more darker green showing more rainfall. So it gives you understanding of how much water will be coming to this point in how many days. And then this whole below area, which you see in the colorful texture, these are basically your crops showing stress. So which crop has how much stress depending upon their color variability. So if you see that there is no inflow from this area, there is no release from upstream, and there is a crop stress, it means we need to pump water from here to here, which takes around 48 hours to reach. So the solution, what it does, it understands the complete profile of crop, the complete profile of water coming to that particular point, and then instruct whether to operate the lift scheme or not. And this basically helps in optimizing the cost of operation and also make sure that the water is efficiently utilized. Because if you have water pumped here and you get water from upstream, then you have to drain this water by this way to the sea, which like wasting your precious water. You can't do anything with that water. So this is one solution where we are saying about interbasin transfer. But there, what to do if there are n number of uh, water transfer happening? So this is one of the mega lift example from government of Telangana. This is world's largest lift scheme covering around 240 TMC of water lift. So basically here what you see here that how the chain can be optimized. So right now what you see on the screen is like if you want to optimize so if you see all these circles are your reservoirs, all these small circles are your final points, and these middle points are like your pumping stations, like these are your pumping stations. So basically what you are doing here, that you are trying to understand for certain region what is my optimum way. And then in the below this colorful piano chart which you are seeing right now, it's saying you how you can operate daily, and these respective color dots which are moving on the screen, it's showing you how much water from which point to which points need to be pumped. So this is the whole way of it's a simulation which gives you idea how to operate. But other side of this is a real-time view, which basically tells you how real-time you are doing right now. So based on your real-time understanding, based on your demand and your simulation, you can understand how you can operate the whole chain of lift schemes to ensure that there is operation productivity and also the water use productivity by understanding the crop stress in that area, the demand, the holistic demand in that area. So all these things basically ends up having a unified water resources, which basically tells you everything about your water, how much water you have in the state. Say, for example, this is the number you can see on your screen, which is telling you what is the water right now in government of Andhra Pradesh today. And then it shows you how that water comes through rainfall, how much water you have, how much you store in the reservoirs, how much is in your water bodies, how much is in your groundwater, what is your current soil moisture looks like, and how much water is there in the various water conservation structures. And there are various module how this is basically distributed. You can in GIS layer you can see your rainfall patterns, reservoirs. You can check groundwater, river and stream flows, MI tanks. Then you can see your evapotranspiration losses, water quality, conservation structures, crop, and all these things. And it's not limited. In many cases, you can see even the pollution, the water quality, the drain discharge. All those things can be made handy in the unified water resource system. So now I will move to the next section of this. I will take a little bit of time more. I think we are already on track right now, which will talk about these implementations. So right now what you have seen is the capability. Now you can see a couple of examples. Like one of that example is Andhra Pradesh, which has a very diversified condition, which has the both cyclone and drought and at the same time. So we have developed this Andhra Pradesh water resource management system, which basically unifies all the water resources, integrates and gives you a real-time visibility of 90% of water resources, and it helps farmers and decision makers to understand how we can use the water resources smartly. This has recently won many prizes in National Water Mission Award 2020. It has, and we have been awarded as best consultancy in water sector from Central Board of Irrigation and Power in India for this solution. The other one is India Water Resource Information System. It's the same, basically visibility dashboard for whole India. So this gives you understanding of how water resources are in India, how they are spread across, what is their behavior. Same thing for the groundwater. Basically, it has a calculation mechanism, which so we have automated the groundwater estimation calculations. It takes account of various of your land profiles, your climatic profiles, and then tells you how much groundwater has been exploited. So and then you get like is you are in red category or yellow categories to understand how much interventions you have to take to ensure the groundwater is there. One of the other state in India called Kerala, very much flood prone state. They have also unified their all water resources to one area to understand how they can, minimize the impact of flood and understand their water resources in much better manner. Then this example we have already seen. This is the world largest lift irrigation scheme. And this basically helps them to optimize pump operation to meet the demand and reduce the power consumption because there is a huge electricity consumption involved in operating these lift schemes. Then this is watershed management. We have seen in one of the example. So what it does, it gives you a village or a watershed, a plan to ensure that they conserve required amount of water. So this is very critical because they can't conserve more. If they conserve more or all the water, it will make adverse climatic impact for the downstream geography. So that's why this is a whole watershed concept, which basically helps you understand how much water conservation should be actually be done with you that is sustainable, and based on that you get your output, your master plans, everything whatever you need to done to ensure that conservation is in place. Then this is other reservoir operation example. This is for Narmada basin, one of the biggest basin in India, which basically have 14 major dams, around 34 kmcm of water distribution. And here the whole operating insight is that we have to ensure that the reservoirs are operating in a perfect manner to avoid flood losses, have the deficit sharing, maintain the environmental flow, and reduce the demand deficit. So in nutshell, this warrings what we have developed on the platform called Equawise gives you one authoritative system for all water related data. It brings you a comprehensive and integrated visibility through GIS and MIS. It's ensure that you plan and manage your water well. And it's a scalable and customizable, not restricted. It's like a plug and play modules. Each of the module, whatever we have seen so far, like a lift schemes, watershed planning, water body monitoring, all are plug and play. It depends what you want. You can simply plug in. What you don't want, you can plug out. And then it has a role-based access, a very interactive GIS and MIS representation, and then it can be scaled or down the scale to any level. It can start from the village and can go up to the basin countries and continents, and that's how you can actually plan it. Just for the sake of how it's getting developed, so it basically integrates with any existing systems. Then it brings down the other layers of water and agriculture and your disaster aspect. And then it basically clubs with it real-time data and your remote sensing data by deploying artificial intelligence and big data analytics. And at last, it gives you a unified visibility on how water resource can be managed with actionable decision support system. So in recent time, we have got a couple of awards, like we have already discussed this in between. So we have been best consultancy in water sector for 2020. Our Andhra Pradesh solution has got National Water Mission Award 2020. We have got Artificial Intelligence Innovation Award for our agriculture solution by our one of the government body Niti Aayog. And then we have been selected as Google Launchpad Accelerator program. We are even research partner with Google in hydrology. So this is what we are now. I think I have covered most of the thing. I know I have rushed so fast because of the limitation of time, but I will be happy to take any of the uh, questions which you might have, and then we can take it up further. I will be available. You have my contact details, and we can continue on that. Thank you.
Yes, Amit, I think you have questions on the chat box.
Okay, let me understand. Okay, I saw encroachment monitoring, so you can please elaborate what are infrastructure required and how is data collected online. So, okay, so for infrastructure monitoring, we are completely relying on the remote sensing technology. There is no infrastructure required on the field. It's just like you have to ensure that you have the geographical boundary, or you can say a GIS file for the area which you want to monitor for the encroachment, but that also not required. You can simply have the solution. You can draw your area on the map if you know it, and then the monitoring will start it automatically. And it's basically depends upon it's a two component. One component basically have detection of change, land use change. So what we do, use free satellite imagery and ensure that the detection, if there is any change in the land use. And to validate that, there can be either we can use a commercial satellite imagery, or we can use any drone or physical survey to verify that. But for water body in large area, even the free satellite imagery is absolutely fine, and it can act as a certain extent, depending upon the limitation of what kind of use case you are actually trying to identify the encroachment on. We are currently implemented our solution in one of the city in India, where we are looking for encroachments in terms of buildings. So there we are using commercial satellite imagery of 50 centimeter resolution. So it depends upon the use case what exactly we are. So thank you, Anjay, for this question. Then I can see question from Neeta. How are these communicated to and among the government partners and stakeholders in Andhra Pradesh? Okay, so basically there are two kind of communication which goes on. One is the portal itself. It has various modules. So once the user log in, they see their respective dashboards and have their own reports. Other is it has advisories. So it goes advisory to the reservoir operations, like how the rainfall and how the forecast and how the structure looks like to them. And other advisory is going to the agriculture entities, like how much water resources look like to them, what is the stress. So based on that, they operate. And there is a SMS also going to the farmers or the related stakeholders. So these are the various mode of communication. But yeah, communication is something is optional, completely optional and customizable. People can go and choose SMS, WhatsApp, email, whatever channel they wanted to do, that is available. But the default option made available to everyone is the dashboard. So they have their own respective dashboard which cater their need. So thank you, Neeta, for that question. Then I have a question from Philip Day. Are there regions to have consumers actively involved in water management, such as through mobile apps for monitoring leaks, other than just data collection? Yeah, absolutely right, Philip. There is a Very important. This is very important that the stakeholders are in sync with the platform through the mobile application. There are various management modules. Say, for example, your reservoir day-to-day operations, or if you are monitoring encroachment, you are a field user, then you have to a validation workflow. If you are a water conservation validator, then you have the location of water conservation structure, which you have to go and verify. Then there are various day-to-day operational insight, like you have to enter some kind of data because there is no sensor. So depending upon the stakeholders, either to consume the data or either to enter the data, there are various use cases which enable people to use the mobile application rather than just monitoring few use cases. Thank you. So I think that's all with the questions here. So any other questions? You can visit the booth and okay, Neeta, do you have any example in irrigation management? Yes, we have. I think you have seen in my presentation one canal irrigation section where we are showing that irrigation map to you. Also in the Kaleshwaram lift scheme management, we are showing you that operation workflow that also have the same thing. It basically manages your irrigation deficit in the area, instruct your reservoir operations, and then show you how to operate. So yes, we have the active customer interface on that. You can probably sync with me because I think we are overshooting time here, and then I can take it up and I can show you that particular thing individually. Thank you, Nita.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session and hope to see you in another session. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie, and thanks all the guys for the wonderful questions and listening me patiently and giving such wonderful insights. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Amit.
Thank you. So I should leave for now.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.